In Chapter 11 of Wuthering Heights, one day while walking out on the moors, Mrs. Dean sees the ghost of Hindley as a child. Terrified, she follows the spirit to Wuthering Heights. As she stands and looks through the gate, she realizes the ghost is a real child, Hareton, whom she has not seen for years. Hareton doesn't recognize Mrs. Dean, who nursed him as a baby. He hurls rocks at her and curses her, which saddens Mrs. Dean deeply. Mrs. Dean finds out that Heathcliff has taught Hareton to curse and protects him from his devil daddy, Hindley. Heathcliff appears suddenly in the doorway. Terrified, Mrs. Dean runs all the way back to Thrushcross Grange. Heathcliff shows up later at Thrushcross Grange, and Mrs. Dean, peering out the window, happens to catch him embracing Isabella. They watch Isabella tear herself free and run into the garden. When Heathcliff comes inside, Mrs. Dean yells at him. Cathy silences Mrs. Dean, telling her to shut up and know her place. Cathy demands that Heathcliff leave Isabella alone. Heathcliff claims, "I have a right to kiss her. I am not your husband. You needn't be jealous of me." Cathy denies being jealous and says if Heathcliff likes Isabella, he should marry her. But Cathy is certain he doesn't actually like her. Then Heathcliff accuses Cathy of treating him infernally and threatens her, saying he won't suffer without getting revenge. Mrs. Dean leaves Heathcliff brooding and runs to Edgar to tell him exactly what she thinks about Isabella, Cathy, and Heathcliff's low behavior. Edgar agrees it's terrible and goes downstairs to kick Heathcliff out of the house. But Cathy takes Heathcliff's side and humiliates Edgar, saying that he doesn't have the courage to attack Heathcliff and he'd better apologize or allow himself to be beaten. Cathy has locked the front door from within and thrown the key in the fire, and Edgar has no choice but to fight Heathcliff. Heathcliff pushes Edgar's chair. Edgar punches Heathcliff in the throat and walks out the back door while Heathcliff lies there choking and sputtering. Obviously, Heathcliff will not be able to visit Thrushcross Grange again. Cathy tells Heathcliff to leave before Edgar comes back, but also she'd rather be with him than Edgar. Heathcliff leaves and Cathy throws a fit and demands Mrs. Dean tell Edgar she's going crazy, so he'll be scared. But Mrs. Dean refuses and exposes her act. Edgar tries to make Cathy choose between him and Heathcliff. She tells him he's cold-blooded and passionless, whereas she's hot-blooded and boils with intensity. For the next several days, Edgar sulks in the library, unaware that Cathy has locked herself in her room, refusing to eat. Cathy chooses Heathcliff over Edgar during their fight, yet Edgar tries to make her choose between them soon after. Cathy suggests that her and Edgar's love lacks passion, and passion is crucial to Heathcliff and Cathy's survival. Ideas of pride are explored throughout this chapter. Pride leads all the characters astray, whether master or servant.